Hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm the Geeky Ballerina. Let's talk about key principles for your intermediate ballet dancers. Intermediate is so much fun to teach. I like teaching everybody, but I will admit the intermediate division is my favorite to teach. Intermediate includes your point preparation, and there's so much growth that happens, and there's a development of refinement. It's just fantastic. It's such a fun level to teach. It's a division. So the Geeky Ballerina curriculum is guided by the key principles for each level. And I'm gonna argue that every good curriculum is guided by key principles, whether it states the principles or not. Because you need a thing that the rest of the level orients around. Otherwise it's kind of hodgepodge and it doesn't weave together like a tapestry. But in the Geeky Ballerina curriculum, I name them. Just like, here we go, I name them. And I think that knowing what the key principle is very helpful to everyone. It's particularly helpful to the teachers because you know what the one thing is that you're supposed to do. So if you are in the middle of creating an Allegro exercise and you get stuck, you can think, okay, well, what's the key principle? Okay, great. And it kind of helps like spur some ideas. Or if you are the kind of teacher who prefers to be a little bit more spontaneous in your class plans, that gives you a touch point to be referring to so that all of your classes are as spontaneous as you want them to be so that you're playing to your strengths, but they're also progressing towards the goal for the whole program. Key principles are also great for substitutes. It's always nice when you're subbing, especially if it's last minute, if someone can give you some guidance instead of being like, it's ballet. I mean, technically that is guidance. I could you could just be tossed in a room and find out when you get there. But knowing the key principle helps you just create stuff that will support the students. Also, when you're the sub, sometimes it's hard to know details, like, is this more of a Balanchine oriented school? Is this more of a Vaganova oriented school? Is this more of an RAD oriented school? Sometimes you don't get that info up front. So there are certain corrections that you're like, oh, like if I were teaching, I would fix that head, but I'm not sure. If you know the key principle, you can just correct that. Key principles are also really, really valuable to studio owners. Even if ballet is not your area of expertise, if it is taught in your school, it is one of your areas of supervision. You need to be supervising your ballet faculty so that you know what is happening in your business. As the business owner, you should feel comfortable walking into any class in your studio and having criteria where you're like, they are working on this. Do I see progress on this? So let's get into the key principles for the intermediate division. They are, the change between levels is greater. In the beginning and the elementary divisions, like this was just like shades of progression. And now they are related progressions. They still build on each other, but the steps are bigger because the dancers are more mature. They are more capable. They are ready for bigger advancements, right? So let's start with level 4. The key principle for level 4 is a palma. In level 1, which was the first level in the elementary division, we introduced the head turn. And most of our dancers took a few months on that. Now in level 4, which is the first level in the intermediate division, we are building on the turn and adding the tilt. There's still the turn, like your Allegro steps primarily just use the turn and your Adagio steps primarily use the tilt. So now students are expected to use both. Also, now that we are taking this head, your skull, your brain, all of this weight, and if we were in a quarter turn, it's still aligned exactly over the base of support. But once you add the tilt, it takes just a little bit more stability and control and awareness to maintain the alignment. So all of those key principles that we worked on in the elementary division still apply and are being challenged and progressed with this new key principle. In level 5, this is the one I get the most questions on. In level 5, the key principle is turnout. Yes, we have been turning out for years. But in level 5, your dancers are usually around 12 years old, and there's a cognitive, like a developmental shift that happens around age 12, where dancers are, not just dancers, where people are ready to start taking the concept of anatomy from a skeleton to like my skeleton. If you try to teach anatomy and biomechanics too early, it's just in one ear and out the other. It doesn't matter how smart the kid is, how hardworking, how coordinated, how somatically aware. Just the way the brain is wired, most people are not ready for those connections until this age, until we get to the very end of elementary school and middle school. So we can talk about turnout in a much more anatomically grounded way. We can talk about the bones. We can talk about the muscles in turnout. We can talk about how we initiate movement with our turnout. Yeah, you probably touched on these things with younger kids, but now your students are cognitively ready to be processing the idea of turnout at a much more mature level. We have a fantastic opportunity in this level at this age to really make a difference with their turnout. If we wait too long, their habits are going to be set and we won't be able to have the impact. And if we do it too early, their brain isn't ready for the information, so they don't integrate it. This is a fantastic window. It's fantastic. In level 6, the key principle is transfer of weight, which I know you've been doing forever. We start with transfer of weight when kids are 3. But in level 6, before we send them off to be advanced division dancers, we really refine this. Are we transferring our weight through straight lines, like a situation, or are we choosing to transfer it through a curved line? We're ready for these kinds of abstract thoughts. 3-year-olds, they don't think abstractly. By this age, we can do that. We can start talking about how are we transferring the weight through your foot. Your foot is not a block of concrete. It has many, many joints. How are we articulating the feet? How are we transferring our center line through space in movement while holding our turnout? How are we using our head? Is our head directing us? Is our head hanging back? Is it counterbalancing? How do all of the pieces of your body mesh together to create a fluid transfer of movement? Or if what's asked for is a sharp or an abrupt transfer of movement, how are we doing that as well? We can look at tempo, we can look at dynamics, we can look at choreographic intent, we can look at a lot of different elements of artistry and make sure that we can transfer our weight in all of the different ways that we might be asked to. By the time we reach the end of the intermediate division of training, dancers are ready to be auditioning for summer programs. A lot of times they're ready like in the middle of it. Intermediate division is when kids start looking into that kind of thing and when we start encouraging them to go and have these awesome summer experiences. So they are already very refined. In fact, a lot of competition studios don't have the time or the need to progress into the ballet advanced division, because even getting to the end of the intermediate division creates amazingly talented dancers, so graceful, so talented. They can do so many things that we throw at them. It's incredible what these kids have accomplished. And it's easiest to get there if we do it in a careful, progressed, measured way so that all of their learning builds on and reinforces itself. If you are interested in the Geeky Ballerina teacher resources, including the curricula, the lesson plans, the monthly newsletter, you can find all of that on my website, geekyballerina.com. Oh, and I forgot, I wrote a book. How did I forget that? You can find my book, Artistry Inside Ballet Technique, Volume 1, on Amazon. I cannot believe I forgot about that. As always, I hope you have a really great class.